Hello my YouTube friends, today I'm going to show you how to create epic overlays for your live streams using Pixlr E, which is totally free. So let's get to it. If you're always looking for tools, tips, and tricks that can help make you a better YouTuber, subscribe to the channel and click that bell so you know when we have new content that comes out. I'm going to create these overlays in Pixlr E. It's an absolutely free internet-based image manipulation software. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. The first thing I'm going to do once I get into Pixlr E is click Create New. I want my overlays to be the same size as my OBS canvas, so I'm going to use Full HD. I broadcast in 1920 by 1080. I'm going to name this particular one Main. And then I'm going to click Create. The first thing I'm going to do is drag in a color palette that I already set up. These are colors I want to use on this overlay. So I drag it and drop it on top, and I'm going to click Add Current. Now you can see my color scheme. And the first thing I'm going to do is select the color I want to use for my background. So I click the little circle on the left, and then I select the color and click OK. I'm going to turn that layer off and select another layer. Now I'm going to go to the left and select Fill, and now I've filled in my background. The next thing I'm going to do is add a thumbnail, and this is just because it's a standard 1080 size, so it means when I create screens in here, I'm going to know exactly what size they need to be. I'm going to place it roughly where I want my camera area to be, and then I'm going to create my box by selecting the Shape tool, and I'm going to just drag my mouse to where I want it to be. Next, I want to add a gradient to this box. So I'm going to select the gradient tool and make sure the colors are what they should be. In this case, I want one color to be that kind of brownish orange and the other I want to be the dark brown. Next, I just drag the mouse from one corner to the next where I want my gradient to be. And you can see this adds a nice gradient to the area. And I'll drag this multiple times just to kind of try to get the exact color that I'm looking for. Now you can see this does it over the entire screen, which means I have to recreate my box. So I go to the cutout tool, then I'm going to drag a box around that area. Then I'm going to click extract, and then I'm going to go over to the layers and I'm going to delete my original layer, so I just have the box. Now I'm going to move that box up into position where I want it and adjust the size a little bit. Now I'm going to reorder my layers, and this will show up my little test screen so I can make sure that everything looks right and it fits in the square the way I want it to. Now I'm going to grab the cutout again. This time I want to change the mode to remove. Then I'm going to draw a little box inside the area that I'm going to have my camera. And this is going to take that little middle section out. Now when I remove visibility from our little test image, you can see I have a nice little square box where my camera is going to be located. I'm going to once again hit the extract button on the cutout tool, and then I'm going to go ahead and delete the original layer. Then I'm going to move my box back up where I want it to be. Now I'm going to go over to the right, click the little plus button, and I'm going to add a layer. And we want this layer to be empty. I'm going to make sure that layer is selected. Now I'm going to switch up the location of my colors in my color palette because the bottom one is going to be the fill for the box. I don't know why it works this way, it just does. The top one is actually the outline and the bottom one is the fill. Then I'm going to select the shape tool. I'm going to make sure my stroke is off and the fill is on because that's what we want here. And like I said, the fill is the bottom color in the color palette. Now I'm going to create another box, and next I want to add that gradient to it again. So I'm going to select gradient, and then I'm going to click two locations in the box the way that I want the gradient to go, and there we have it. And I go back and I do this a couple of times because I want to make sure that I get the gradient looking exactly how I really want it. And I didn't like how that looked, so I'm going to switch the overlay. We're going to try hard light, and I don't really like how that looks either. Sometimes when you do this, it takes a little bit of experimentation. The problem with darken is that it darkens the whole screen and I can't see my box anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the right, I'm going to click the three dots, and I'm going to duplicate this layer. Then I'm going to select the bottom copy of this layer, and I'm going to change the blend mode to darken, and then I'm going to drag the points to create my gradient. Now all I have to do is cut out that area around the duplicate layer that I already created. So I go over and I grab the cutout tool and I just trace around the outside of that layer. Now if I uncheck the viewability, you can see that my gradient looks pretty good. That's kind of what I'm after. So I'm going to delete my duplicate layer because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and extract the layer I just created. We're going to delete the original. And then I'm just going to move that box exactly where I want it on the screen. Now I don't really care for the gradient that I have on my view screen box, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create a copy of the cutout. Then I'm going to use the original cutout layer below that, and I'm going to drag my gradient. And I'm going to do this a couple times just to try to make sure that it looks pretty similar to the other one. Now I'm going to use the cutout tool to cut that box out for me again. So I just grab the top right corner and I drag it all the way down to the bottom right corner. So I have the box all squared out the way I want it. And I'm going to use the cutout tool to do the same thing on the inside of the box. So I switch this to remove, and then I drag the inside of the box, and I remove that. Now I think we have the gradient I'm looking for. We can make that top copy invisible, and we can look and see if this is more of the effect that we wanted. It seems like it is. I'm going to delete the original cutout, and then I'm going to extract this little box. Then I'm going to reorder these layers just a little bit, and I'm going to move that box to the location that I want it at. And I kind of like that. I think it looks better now. I'm going to use the free transform a little bit to square this up so I can move one of the edges without affecting the other. And I'm just going to cut a little bit off of this edge so it matches the other side. Then I'm going to extract it, remove the original layer, and move it into position again. And now I think that looks pretty good. Now I want another box down in my lower thirds. And I'm going to do this one the easy way. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this box here on the right. And then I'm going to move it. And then I'm going to select the free in the aspect ratio so I can make this any shape I want. Then I'm going to move the edges in the corners to move this box into the locations that I want it. And wow, there we go. And then I've decided maybe this is an easier way for me to do the cutout on the screen. So I duplicate that box once again. I drag it over the area. And now I'm just going to cut out the inside of that box. And now all three boxes are going to have the same gradient, which is what I really was looking for from the very beginning. Sometimes you're going to find that you have to kind of experiment and poke around to make this stuff work just right. Now when I remove the original, you can see that that's exactly the kind of gradient I was looking for. I can delete all the other copies, extract it, delete the extracted original, and then move that box into the location that I want. Now that looks pretty sweet. That's exactly what I was looking for. The next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of a drop shadow to all of these things. And I have a setting that I like to use. So I'm just going to go and set my blur to 35, my offset X to 25, and my offset Y to 29 on all three of these boxes. You can see that creates a nifty little drop shadow. It's pretty cool stuff. Now one tip that I can give you is to put your drop shadows on your boxes before you make the cutout for the window that your video is going to play in. Otherwise, as you can see, it has an inside drop shadow, and it's not really what we want. If you create the drop shadow before you actually cut the hole, you're not going to have that drop shadow on the inside. It doesn't really bother me, but it is something that you can avoid having if you just make the drop shadow before you do the cutout. The last thing we have to do is make the cutout for our background where we're going to have our camera window. That's so you can see all the way through this. The last step, all we need to do now is save this out as a PNG. So I'm going to go up and click File and then Save. Then I'm going to name the file, make sure PNG is selected, and click Download. This is going to download to the default download location for your web browser, so you're probably going to want to know exactly where that is. And that's our first overlay setup. Now I'm going to show you another overlay. This is going to be another main one. The first thing I'm going to do is create it. It's going to be 1920 by 1080, just like the last one. I'm going to import my color palette. Then I'm going to set the background color, just like we did on the last one. Now I'm going to change up the color palette so it's correct for my gradient. Then I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to make sure that layer is selected, and I'm going to just put that gradient in there. And once I have the box I'm looking for with the right gradient, I'm going to once again import a test image. Once I have the test image in there, I change to free aspect, and then I can just move it exactly how I want to make sure that this box is going to fit right around my test image. In this case, I want a smaller test image, so I'm going to resize that, and then I'm going to resize the box around that. Next, I'm going to duplicate that box. And I'm going to move it over here to the right. And I'm going to resize it up. And I'm going to duplicate it once again. And I'm going to resize that and place that down in the bottom left-hand corner. And this is the basic layout for this. Next, I'm going to add drop shadows to each of these boxes. The same way I did before. Blur 35, offset 25, offset Y 29. Now we have a nice drop shadow on each box. I really like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some social media logos down to the bottom left. So I'm going to drag and drop those on top. I'm going to click Add to Current. This is the Twitter logo. I'm going to resize this. Now I'm going to go to my cutout tool. And I'm going to select the magic cutout and make sure it's set to remove. And I'm going to click in this white area to remove the white. And you can see that really is easy to do. Once I remove all the white area, I click Extract. I delete the original layer. And now we have the cutout that we're looking for. I'm just going to resize that. Move it down to the bottom right. Next, I'm going to add a Facebook logo in here. And it's the same process. I'm going to select the cutout tool. I'm going to select the white border. It's going to remove all of that white in one click. That's pretty freaking awesome. Then I'm going to extract it again. I'm going to delete the original layer. Now I'm just going to resize it and place it down in the bottom where I want it. The next thing I'm going to do is add drop shadow for these items, just like I did for the boxes. Blur 35, offset X 25, offset Y 29, so that they will look almost exactly like they fit right in the picture with the boxes. I really like how that looks. Now I'm going to add some text. So I select the text tool. Now I'm going to go down into the bottom to add a layer for the text. I click the plus button, I add text. Now I want to select my font. I really like this Game On font. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to make sure that I have the text color I'm looking for selected. So I'm going to go back to that color layer. I'm going to select color up in the text tool area. Then I'm going to select the color I want it to be for my color palette, this kind of yellowish color here. Now all I have to do is go up and click edit, and I'm going to type in the text I'm looking for. So I'm going to type in my social media handles here. We're going to try to do this on one thing, but I don't think it's going to work out. So even when I resize it, then it doesn't seem to match up. I don't really like that. And if I put the space in between, it doesn't really work either. So what we're going to do is just delete that second line, and we're going to make sure that this is the size we want. Then I'm going to go over here to the right, click the three dots, and just duplicate that Facebook. And then I'm going to go up and just select the Twitter text, click edit, and I'm going to change it from Facebook to Twitter. Put a little space in there so everything kind of seems like it lines up pretty nicely. Move it to where I want it. And now I'm going to duplicate it one more time. We're going to go up here, then I'm going to click on edit to change the text, and we're going to type chat in there. Now I'm going to go to styles, and I'm going to select shadow and outline. I kind of like how the shadow and outline looks on it, so I'm going to do it for all three of these text objects. And there you go. I like how that's set up. So the only thing we need to do now is just create our cutouts for our video. So I select the cutout tool. Then I'm going to select remove from the mode. I'm going to draw in my line, and there we go. We remove the center of that. Then I'm going to click extract and delete the original one, so we just have the cutout. Now the only thing we have to do is remove that cutout from the background layer as well. So I'm going to select the cutout tool, make sure the background layer is selected, make sure the mode is remove. Then I'm going to drag in that area and cut out that background. Now I'm going to add a little bit of an accent to these boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my color palette. I'm going to select another color here. I'm going to select the shape tool, and I'm going to turn off fill. And I'm going to make sure stroke is set to 5. Then I'm going to make sure that the box that I'm going to draw on is selected, because we can just add these accents right on top of that box. And I'm just going to draw a little accent stroke around it. I like how that looks. I'm going to do the same thing on the other boxes. I'm going to select the select tool at the top, select the box I want to make sure is activated, and then I'm going to go to the box tool, and I'm going to just draw the same thing in there. And this adds a cool little accent line around those. It just kind of brings out the color even a little more for the overlay. And I'm going to do the same thing on the outline for the video. And I'm going to select my main viewing window. Now we're going to select our shape tool again, and we're going to create that little accent line on our viewport as well. Now all that's left to do is save it out. Just make sure that when you're saving these out, if they're going to have a transparency, you save them as a PNG. A JPEG does not save out the transparency. There's one last overlay I want to show you. I call this the coming soon screen, but you can use something like this also for your Be Right Back screen. If you're doing a gaming stream or something and you need to take a 5-minute break, you probably always want to have a stream starting soon screen because you want to kind of let people collect in there for 5 or 10 minutes before you go live. It's just nice to have an audience. So I'm going to create new, I'm going to go to full HD again, and I'm going to name this and click create. Then I'm going to add my color palette on here again, and I'm going to select my background color. Then I'm going to select that layer and do a fill to fill that background color in. Next, I'm going to add some text. I'm going to type the text I want on there, and I think I need to change this font, so I'm going to scroll down and click game on. I like how that looks. That looks nice. I can select this little size slider and change the size of the text that I'm looking for. Then I'm going to add an outline and a shadow to this text, and I really like how that looks. So once again, I'm just going to drag and drop darken over top. Then I'm going to cut out my box again, and I'm going to extract it, delete the original layer, and move that into place. Now I'm going to duplicate that cutout. I'm going to turn this text layer off so I can move it easier. Then I'm going to free transform that duplicate and place it where I want it. Then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to place it at the bottom, make it the size and shape that I want. Then I'm going to go about adding the drop shadow to each of these boxes exactly how I've done it in the past. Then I'm going to add my social media icons again, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that the drop shadow is on those as well. I'm going to place those in there, and then I'm going to add that text again, selecting the game on font, and we're going to just put our social media name on there. By the way, this actually is my social media information. If you want to go ahead and add me on Facebook or Twitter, please feel free. I'd love to talk to you. And I just changed the size of all this stuff up, and that's our coming soon layer. Now obviously we're going to need something there on the right, but we're going to wait until we get into OBS to add that. So that's pretty much it for the 3 overlays that I'm going to show you how to create today. Let me show you how to add those overlays into OBS. Now I'm going to show you how to add the overlay and put together one of these main scenes so you can see what it looks like in OBS. I click the plus. The first thing I'm going to add is my overlay, so I go to image. We'll call this one main overlay, and I'm going to just go and select that overlay, and there we go. Now there are all kinds of things we can do with this overlay. There are assets that I already created. I'm just going to add them here. I'm not going to go over how to create these assets. That's for another video. I just want you to see what's possible with the different layouts. First thing I'm going to do is click the plus. I'm going to add a media source, and this media source is going to be a promo video I created. And then I'm going to just resize this. It's got a nifty little promo for the tools that I use and my shirts, which of course aren't actually real. They don't exist. So if you want one of these shirts, sorry, but you can't buy it. Next, I'm going to add another media source for another little video that I created. So I click the plus, I go to media sources. I'm going to add an existing one because I already created this. We want to add the logos. That's right. It's the logos for all my different channels. I'm going to resize this. And I just created these videos really quick just to give you an example of what they look like. We're going to move these here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a browser source next because I want to be able to see who I'm streaming to, how many people are in my stream. I usually stream to multiple locations on my game console, so that's the one I already have set up. So I'm going to just add that in there. You can see that adds the number of Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer users that are in there. And what I want to do is I want to just go ahead and adjust this. Now I've seen people do rolling ads like this for different things that they promote, and then doing rolling ads for other channels that they promote. Believe it or not, if you're a full-time live streamer, other channels will pay you to promote them, and you can put their little rolling ads over here, or pretty much whatever you want. Affiliate links, your own merch. You don't have to be monetized on YouTube to do any of that. The next thing I'm going to do is add some text and a roller. I already created these texts. These are going to be for people who support my stream. So we're going to add top supporters. We're going to toss that down here. Next I'm going to go and I'm going to click the plus. We're going to add another text thing. And this is going to be a roller I already set up with the names of the people that support my channel. I'm going to put this in here. And these folks all support on Patreon or other ways. There's all kinds of ways that you can support my channel if you want. The links are in the description. And now I can readjust the size of my top supporters. So that looks alright. That has my top supporters. It has a nice little roller. I'm going to use the little up arrow key to adjust the location of that. Now we just need my video source. I'm going to click the plus button. I'm going to go to video capture device. I've already set this up. It's the one without the green screen. That's the one I want. And boom. There I am. I just need to take this and move it below my overlay. So we can see main overlay there. I just want this below that. And then it'll show up like that. Now I still want to adjust the size of it. And that's not what I want to adjust either. We'll select no screen. Then we just adjust the size of it like that. And I'll move it around. Just get it positioned in the box exactly the way I want it. There we go. So that is how I would build this particular scene. You can see that there's 100 different ways to build these scenes, and they're all based on the overlay that you use as your layout. Let me show you another overlay layout and the way that you can use that one. This one I'm going to show you here is going to be another main screen. So to add my overlay, I'm going to click the plus, go to image, and I haven't actually set this one up yet, so I haven't done a test run. This is going to be all on the fly. It's main 2. I'm going to go to overlay. I'm going to select my main 2 PNG. We're going to open that puppy up, and there you go. Alright, so we've already added some of the elements to this. We want a chat there, so what I'm going to do is we're going to add that chat from the browser source. And I don't have one set up. So it's really, really easy to do. I'm just going to go into my OBS. We're going to go into the chat box area, which I believe that's what this is. Chat box widget. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back into my OBS. And we're going to call this chat. Click OK. We're going to paste that browser source in here. And we're probably going to have to adjust the size here. Where we want this to fit is right in here. So we want that to fit right in here. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to adjust the width, maybe 600. And we'll see how that goes. And we're going to adjust this to maybe 800. And let's see where we're at here. Alright, so our chat is closer to how we want it. But let's adjust it a little bit more. Let's go with 900 here. And that's just a little bit too big. So 800 probably would have been good if it had actually taken it the first time around. I'm going to stretch this just a touch like that to embiggen it just a little bit. I'm going to go into properties. We're going to set this to 800 and we'll see where that falls. And that's pretty close. If we give it a little bit of room on the top and the bottom. So our chat when we're live is going to come and be projected right here. And some people really like to have their live chat in there. And to be honest, if you're streaming across multiple platforms, it's always nice to have the chat in there that aggregates everything. And that you probably wouldn't get necessarily from Streamlabs OBS. You'd get that from something like Restream.io, but the way that you add that source is exactly the same as what you just saw. Next, I'm going to add my video, and I already created these assets, so I'm going to go into Video Capture Device. I'm going to add an existing, and that's the no screen one. And there we go. I'm all embiggened, so I'm going to make this smaller. We're going to move it down behind my main, and then I'm going to just set it to the size that I want it to be, and that'll work. I like that. looking good. The next thing I want to do is obviously add some audio for me. That's easy. The plus, the audio input capture, I already have an existing one. So we're going to call this Me Audio. It's already there. You can see, there we go. We can adjust it any way we see fit. And so this screen is already all set up. This is pretty common. If you didn't want to have like your social media links in the bottom, you could put affiliate advertisements down there. You could put a supporter scroller in that area. You can pretty much do whatever you want. I'm just showing you how to create the layouts and what they can be used for. There are hundreds of successful live streaming channels out there. You can go and take a look at their overlays, and you should easily be able to recreate those overlays in Pixlr. I'm going to show you one more here. So let's add another tutorial. This is going to be tutorial 3. And this is going to be kind of the hold screen. So I'm going to add the overlay. I click the plus and I go to image. And this one is going to be weight. The weight screen. I like that. And we're going to go ahead and browse to that particular screen. I don't know why. Oh, I saved this out as a JPEG. And you'll see why in a second. It's because it doesn't need any transparency at all. This basically tells you the stream is coming soon. And it gives you the information on my social media stuff. And what I would add over here in that other box, we're going to add a chat box there, I think. That's what a lot of people would add there. It makes sense. The folks in your live stream will have the ability to kind of chat while they're waiting for you to come on. We'll put that chat box right there. I don't really care for how that fits in, so what I would probably do is above that, put in another browser source. And in this case, I believe the best one might be something like a countdown timer. I like that. I already created this countdown timer. And you may not want yours set to 15 minutes. That's a long time for people to wait. But you can have it set for whatever you want. So now over here on this side, we have a countdown timer telling people when the stream is going to start. And we have chat that scrolls so people can chat while they're waiting. And it basically is just a basic information screen. This is something you definitely want to set up and create and maybe put on a hold screen for 5 minutes before you go live. It allows people to kind of collect in your stream before you go live to guarantee that you have a little bit of an audience. If you want to learn how to create animated overlays for your live streams, you should definitely check this video out right here. And if you're always looking for tools, tips, and tricks that can help make you a better YouTuber, subscribe to the channel. My name is Michael Fire Jr. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.